Most people assume that if an extraterrestrial intelligence wanted to make its presence known, it would approach directly, step forward, reveal form, or descend in a way that leaves no room for doubt. But that is never how it begins. The earliest phase of external contact is observation at a distance, a deliberate, measured presence that does not interrupt your reality so much as hover at the edges of it. They do not rush. They do not intrude. They do not announce themselves. They watch, not as predators, not as conquerors, but as beings who understand the fragility of human perception and the need for gradual alignment. Their distance is intentional, precise, and deeply intelligent. Once your inner field begins responding to the first signal, the external environment shifts to reflect that internal resonance. This is when the watchers appear, not as beings, not as silhouettes, but as movement in the sky that carries intention rather than randomness. People often dismiss these early sightings as aircraft, satellites, drones, or distant stars. They try to rationalize what they witness because the mind is more comfortable with familiar explanations than with the possibility that something entirely other has entered awareness. But the watchers do not rely on belief. They rely on pattern. They use distance as a buffer, a way to let you acclimate to their presence without overwhelming your nervous system. In this stage, subtlety is the language of contact. The watchers begin by positioning themselves on the boundary between visibility and ambiguity. They appear far enough away that your mind can doubt, but close enough that your intuition cannot dismiss what it feels. A single light hanging too still in the night sky, a movement that does not match any aircraft you've seen, a shift in brightness that seems timed to your attention. These manifestations are not accidents. They are calibrations. They are reading your perception, your emotional reaction, your readiness to engage without collapsing into fear or disbelief. They are observing you just as you observe them, and your reactions determine how close they move in later stages. Distance gives them room to study without interfering. They watch how you breathe when you see the anomaly. They watch whether your heartbeat accelerates or steadies. They watch the subtle shifts in your emotional field. At a distance, nothing in your life is disrupted. Your routines remain intact. Your sense of identity remains untouched. But your awareness begins to stretch, and that stretch is what they measure. They are not merely watching you physically. They are watching the resonance of your consciousness, how it organizes itself when confronted with something outside the familiar architecture of human reality. The watchers appear in silence. They never produce sound unless they choose to, and in this early stage they almost never choose to. Their craft, if they use craft at all, move in ways that defy the expected rhythms of human-made technology. Too smooth, too sudden, too still, too responsive to attention. They move with the precision of intention, not mechanics. And that is the point. They want you to feel the intelligence behind the motion, not the mechanics that carry it. They want the contact to register first as presence, not machinery. When you see them at a distance, the experience feels like an invitation wrapped in uncertainty. Part of you knows something is happening. Another part insists it cannot be real. This internal split is not a flaw, it is part of the process. They allow you to oscillate between belief and doubt, because that oscillation is the stretching of consciousness itself. They want your awareness to expand without breaking. They want your mind to question without collapsing. They want your intuition to strengthen without overwhelming your logic. Distance makes this possible. In this stage, sightings are rarely singular. Once the watchers establish presence, they return. Not every night, not on a schedule, but with a rhythm that feels intentional. You might see a light in a direction you are inexplicably drawn to look. You might witness motion the exact moment your thoughts shift toward the possibility of being observed. You might feel the impulse to walk outside with no clear reason, only to see a distant object hovering in stillness as though waiting for you to notice it. These patterns are not coincidences. They are responses. The watchers operate through resonance, not through force. Animals often notice them before you do. Dogs stare upward with focused intensity. Birds shift formation unexpectedly. Deer freeze in silence. The natural world is perceptive to the watchers because animals do not carry the intellectual filters that block the human mind from perceiving the unfamiliar. They feel energy directly. They sense fields, not stories. And in the presence of watchers, the field is unmistakably different. If you pay attention, you'll notice nature's response even before you consciously register the anomaly in the sky. The watchers do not choose every human. They respond to resonance, to openness, to internal alignment. They do not waste energy on those who are not ready. They do not force themselves upon those who would collapse under the weight of the unknown. This stage is not random. It is selective. You are seen because something within you has already stepped toward them, consciously or not. They are watching you because you have already begun tuning to a frequency that allows contact to unfold without violating your psychological stability. The distance is both protection and preparation. In this phase, time behaves strangely around sightings. You might look up for a moment and realize 10 minutes have passed, or you might experience the opposite, a sighting that feels prolonged but lasted only seconds. Time bends not because they manipulate it directly, but because your consciousness expands momentarily to hold more than your usual perception allows. The watchers do not distort reality. They alter the way you register it. They create pockets of awareness where the usual rules loosen just enough for the encounter to imprint itself without overwhelming your mind. Doubt plays a crucial role here. Doubt keeps your ego from forming rigid interpretations too early. It keeps your mind flexible. It keeps your perception open. The watchers use distance to allow your doubt and intuition to coexist, because the tension between them creates the internal space needed for deeper stages of contact. They do not want blind belief. They want coherent awareness. They want you to feel without fantasy, to question without denial, to witness without collapsing into narrative. Distance cultivates this balance. You might find yourself returning to the location of a sighting without knowing why. You stand outside at night with a sense of anticipation you cannot articulate. You drive by a certain stretch of road more slowly than usual, scanning the horizon. You feel a pull toward open spaces, fields, coastlines, mountain ridges, places where the watchers can appear without interference. These impulses are not programmed. They are responses from your deeper self. The parts of your awareness that recognize the watchers before your conscious mind allows itself to admit what is happening. During this stage, you may also feel a peculiar sense of companionship and solitude. When you are alone, especially at night, you feel the presence of something watching, not with threat, but with understanding. The watchers do not judge. They do not assess you morally. They observe the coherence of your field, the stability of your inner landscape, the strength of your emotional tone. They study your readiness not as a scientist studies a subject, but as an elder watches a younger traveler preparing to cross a threshold. Their distance is not detachment, it is respect. The watchers communicate through silence. They use motion, light, timing, and presence as their vocabulary. Every shift has meaning. Every pause has intention. Every appearance is part of a sequence. The watchers are not trying to impress you. They are not trying to shock you. They are introducing the idea of being observed, the reality of being noticed by an intelligence beyond the human frame. And they do it without intrusion, without demand, without urgency. They let you acclimate to the idea that you are not alone in your awareness. When the watchers appear repeatedly, something within you begins to accept their presence even if your mind still struggles to articulate it. You start to feel a strange familiarity, as though the sky itself is becoming a point of reference, a place where something returns to meet you. That familiarity is the final phase of this stage. Once the watchers have become part of your perceptual landscape, once their presence no longer destabilizes you, once the idea of being observed no longer creates fear, the stage of distant witnessing completes. And when that happens, they begin moving closer. As the watchers continue their silent presence at the edges of your awareness, something in your perception begins to sharpen. You stop trying to convince yourself that what you're seeing is a plane, a helicopter, a satellite, or a trick of the atmosphere. You stop trying to rewrite the moment into something comfortable. Instead, you begin to observe them the way they observe you, without narrative, without judgment, without grasping for explanations. You allow the moment to stand on its own. This shift is subtle, but it represents the first opening in your consciousness where genuine contact can anchor itself. You are no longer fighting the unknown. You are listening to it. During this stage, the watchers do not increase their proximity in dramatic ways. Instead, they deepen the quality of the encounters. You might notice that the lights behave in ways that mirror your attention. A distant object brightens the moment your focus sharpens. It holds position when your breath settles. It moves the instant your awareness fluctuates. This is not coincidence. This is responsiveness. They are testing how finely tuned your perception has become. The sky becomes a canvas of subtle interaction, and each motion is a question. Can you feel the intention behind the pattern, or are you still trapped in the assumptions of the mind? These early interactions often unfold at times when your emotional field is most open. Late at night, moments after meditation, immediately following a powerful realization, during periods of transition when your inner world has softened enough to register frequencies you usually ignore. The watchers do not appear to distract you. They appear to align with your openness. They time their presence to the moments when your resistance is lowest and your intuition is highest. They move at the pace of your internal evolution, never faster than your nervous system can integrate. There is a moment in this stage when the watchers feel less like distant phenomena and more like a familiar presence returning. You may begin to sense them before stepping outside. Something inside you knows when they are near. Your awareness becomes anticipatory, as if a part of you is already interacting with them before your eyes confirm it. This pre-sighting sensitivity is not imagination. It is resonance. Your inner signal, established in the first stage, has matured enough to register their approach before the physical senses catch up. You feel the field before you see the movement. This is one of the first signs that your consciousness is synchronizing with theirs. Emotional responses begin to calibrate differently during this phase. The initial fear, uncertainty, or disbelief fades. What replaces it is a steadying calm that is not forced, not practiced, but emerges organically. You may feel a deep peace during sightings, even if your mind does not fully understand why. You may feel a sense of recognition, as if something old is waking within you. The watchers do not generate these feelings directly. They create the conditions where these states naturally arise, because emotional coherence is required for the next stage. Panic fractures the field. Curiosity stabilizes it. Calm deepens it. The watchers respond to this emotional tuning with increasing intentionality. Distance remains, but the quality of distance changes. It no longer feels like separation. It feels like space, a deliberate buffer that protects both you and them from premature intimacy. This distance allows your consciousness to stretch without breaking. It allows your skepticism to relax without collapsing. It allows your intuition to lead without overwhelming the structures of thought. The watchers remain at the edge of visibility because the edge is where human awareness expands most effectively. They are not hiding. They are guiding. During this stage, the watchers may engage in more complex displays. They may shift formations. They may blink in patterns that feel deliberate. They may move in ways that defy the inertia of physical craft. They may vanish in an instant, then reappear precisely where your attention moves. These displays are not meant to dazzle you. They are meant to show you that intelligence can express itself through motion long before form is revealed. They are demonstrating that the sky is not a static backdrop, but a living interface through which contact can unfold without overwhelming human perception. You begin to trust what you see, not because belief has replaced doubt, but because the repeated pattern of interaction creates its own evidence. Something in you recognizes the consistency. Something in you responds to the intelligence behind the movements. Something in you understands that this is not random. Doubt doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. It becomes less of a barrier and more of a companion that keeps your mind grounded while your awareness expands. Doubt is no longer fear. It is a stabilizer that keeps you from leaping into fantasy, while still allowing the reality of the moment to stand. This is also the stage where synchronicities intensify. You may see numbers repeating in ways that align eerily with their appearances. You may experience sudden intuitive insights right before stepping outside. Conversations about extraterrestrial topics may arise without your provoking them. Dreams may deepen, showing clearer symbols or structures that resemble the patterns you see in the sky. The watchers do not create these synchronicities manually. Their field interacts with your consciousness in a way that naturally amplifies them. Reality begins to feel orchestrated, not because you are losing touch, but because you are gaining coherence. One of the most profound shifts in this stage is the way your perception of the night sky transforms. What once looked like distant stars now feels alive. You begin to sense which points of light carry presence and which do not. You can feel when something is watching, when something is near, when something is aligning with your attention. The watchers may remain distant, but the distance grows porous. Their presence feels less like something out there and more like something at the edge of your own field. They remain far, but the connection feels near. Sometimes during this stage, one sighting will stand out, not because it is closer or brighter, but because it carries an unmistakable sense of being directed at you. The movement feels personal. The timing feels intentional. You sense that the watchers are not just measuring readiness, they are preparing the bridge for deeper interaction. This is the moment when many people feel a subtle internal shift, as if something clicks into place. You are no longer simply witnessing an anomaly. You are participating in a dialogue made of silence, light, and shared awareness. As this phase progresses, the watchers begin to test proximity in ways so subtle you may not notice at first. A craft may appear slightly closer than usual. The light may brighten a little more. The movement may become slightly more responsive. They push the boundary by inches, not miles. They watch your reaction closely. They adjust accordingly. If your field tightens too quickly, they retreat to a comfortable distance. If your field remains steady, they press the boundary again. This dance continues until your nervous system can maintain coherence in the presence of an intelligence that is no longer confined to the far edges of perception. Emotional resonance continues to be their primary tool. They learn the tone of your fear, the tone of your curiosity, the tone of your openness. They sense your boundaries better than you do, and they never cross those boundaries prematurely. You may think you are ready for direct contact, but they know the thresholds of human consciousness more intimately than any human does. They move only when readiness is real, not when desire is strong. Wanting contact is not the same as being prepared for it. The watchers respond to readiness, not longing. Eventually, the watchers begin to appear not randomly, but in ways that feel coordinated with your inner state. You may see them after a breakthrough, after a moment of clarity, after an emotional release, or after a realization that shifts your understanding of yourself. These moments signal coherence, and coherence is the doorway through which the watchers move toward the next stage. They are not waiting for you to be perfect. They are waiting for you to be steady. When the watchers sense that your field can hold the next level of presence without destabilizing, the distance begins to close more noticeably. They move from distant witnessing to near-field interaction. The lights appear lower in the sky. The movement becomes more deliberate. The proximity gains weight. The presence becomes unmistakable. The watchers have completed their purpose. They have prepared you for the next stage, where intelligence reveals itself not through distance but through approach. And when that threshold comes, the sky is no longer something you look at. It becomes something that looks back.